Okay, so this is Liz-Chaney. She's being interviewed by this guy from the Texas Tribune. And she's going to talk a little bit about a commercial that she put out for her primary when she was running for election. And I don't want to rag on Liz-Chaney too much, but I think this needs to be shown. Coming up tomorrow, there's going to be a January 6th committee going to reconvene and start talking about this. But I wanted this to be shown on this video just for purposes of truth.
And there was a moment in the primary when you put out an ad that featured your dad. This is a quote from your dad direct to camera. In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. Dick Cheney. I know you're his daughter. Dads do things. I get that. But this is the former Vice President of the United States saying that a former President of the United States is the greatest threat to the Republic ever.
Okay, that's a really terrible statement, and for her to put that in an ad is a pretty desperate attempt to try to woo voters to her side. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up was Harriet Hagman is her opponent in the primary, and I want you to hear what she says about her.
Harriet's a member of the Wyoming State Bar, and she's sworn an oath to the Constitution as a member of the Wyoming State Bar.
Yeah.
And she continues to make the assertion that somehow the 2020 election was stolen, and says many of the same things that have resulted in people like Rudy Giuliani.
Liz-Chaney knows she's lying, but she's going to say it anyways. Hagman alluded to the belief in improprieties during the 2020 election. She calls herself a strong supporter of the former President Donald Trump, who has endorsed Hagman's challenge of Cheney's amid the public battle with the incumbent. But publicly, Hagman stops short of avowing outright that she believes that the former Trump false claim in his election bid was stolen. In Hagman's website, it says that people lost faith in the security and integrity of our elections, and we must rebuild that trust. We must put a stop to things such as blindly mailing ballots, often to millions of registered voters who did not ask for them. Without accountability or a proper chain of custody, there is also no good common sense argument against requiring people to show identification to vote. As your Congresswoman, I will ensure that every eligible American will be able to vote once, and that have that vote counted. Okay, so Liz-Chaney is feeding the liberal press. Anyways, this is MSNBC, and this commentator is going to talk about what he thinks the outcome of the January 6th
conservative movement, the Republican Party, who were saying liberal democracy doesn't work. Mm-hmm. They want to move to what Orban is doing.
Orban was a proponent of a liberal democracy, citing countries like China, Russia, India, and Singapore, and Turkey as models of governance.
They want to move more towards what Putin is doing. They want to move more towards, move away from democracy, move away from free elections, because they think Western democracy has been too corrupting. It's really bizarre that they're actually admitting this out loud, but they are.
I wish there'd be a lie detection device on the TV screen and just put liar, 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 because you can't quote anybody. Nobody says we want to be more like Russia, we want to be more like Putin, or we want to get away from democracy, or we want to get away from all these things that have made our country great over the past 200 and some years. No, this is a bunch of baloney that they throw out there to try to coerce people to join the Democratic Party. This is really terrible that he said that. And I think it's a travesty on this network that they would throw this stuff out and think that it will stick. It's just terrible that he would do that.
Your critics have said it's because you hate President Trump, that you have turned on the Republican Party. Well, those two might be true.
Okay, so this is Denver Riddleman, and he's going to be talking about the January 6th information that he's downloaded and analyzed and wrote a book. And so this is what CBS News is going to be talking about in that information that Ruderman has discovered.
A former senior technical advisor for the January 6th committee is sharing new information about White House officials' ties to the Capitol riots.
Senator Riggleman and his team combed through thousands of phone records, emails, social media posts, and text messages tied to January 6th before he stepped down from the committee in April. Riggleman told 60 Minutes he discovered a connection between the White House switchboard and a rioter's phone while working with his team. He also said text messages to and from former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows revealed a, quote, roadmap to an attempted coup.
Okay, so this is 60 Minutes, and this is Denver Riggleman, and he's being interviewed, and he's going to talk about his aha moment.
Did it hit you at one point that this is way bigger than it appeared in the beginning?
Absolutely. Do you get a real aha moment when you see that the White House switchboard had connected to a rioter's phone while it's happening? That's a pretty big aha moment. You get an aha.
Wait a minute. Someone in the White House was calling one of the rioters while the riot was going on?
On January 6th, absolutely.
And you know who both ends of that call?
I only know one end of that call. I don't know the White House end, which I believe is more important.
What they didn't say is that this phone call came at 4:30 when the riot is pretty much over, people are leaving, and that was only a 9 or 10-second phone call. It was just, hey, you okay? And yeah, I'm okay. And then the phone hung up. So it's not like there was some type of collusion going on. It's a crazy thing that they would even suggest that this phone call is a connection with the White House versus the rioters, and that they don't talk about the details.